Welcome back everybody. Today we're looking at the proposed minimum requirement of Wuthering Waves, because Screaming Wave wasn't really selling from the perspective of the marketing team, I guess. Anyway, the proposed minimum requirement is the Intel i5 9th Gen or the Ryzen 2700. This is a Ryzen 7, 16GB of memory, and a GTX 1060. Don't know if it's the 3 or 6GB, and the RX570. Don't know if it's the 4 or the 8GB. We also don't know which resolution we're going to have to play and which graphical settings need to be put on. Welcome to Respawn PC. I'm Dunk. Let's Screaming Wave on. So let's start the testing. First, I don't have the Ryzen 7 2700, but the closest I have is the Ryzen 5 2600. And for a game that is meant to be played on a mobile device, you won't see that won't make any difference. For the first GPU, I'd go with the GTX 1060 6GB variant. Obviously, I'm at 1080p, and I've tested the low settings and the medium settings and the high settings, but the game is capped at 60 FPS, and this is currently medium settings. And at medium settings, the GPU is at 50% utilization and using 3.169 megabyte of memory out of the 6. So the GTX 1060 3GB should be able to play this game at 60 FPS medium also. The CPU, we are at 35% of utilization, so the Ryzen 7 2700 is exaggerated. Sure, you can play on a Ryzen 3 1200. On the RAM side, we're using 10 to 11 GB of memory. That's the only thing that they somehow got right, because 8 won't have been enough, and 12 is just stupid. Now with the same setup, but switching the graphics to Advance, because high or very high is too hard to write down. And don't remember that if you switch that, the VSync and motion blur get back to on, so you need to turn that off if you don't want it. And after wootering in the mid 50s FPS, after all the assets load, we reach our 60 FPS all the time, stable. The GPU is in the mid 60 of utilization instead of 50, that's good, I guess, and 3.265 for the VRAM of the GPU. The CPU didn't change anything, same go for the RAM. So as for proposed minimum requirement, the GTX 1060 6GB is killing it. The GTX 1060 3GB is probably able to play at medium, maybe even advanced settings easily also. Now switching to the AMD side of GPU, the RX570, I choose the 4GB variant because I'm pretty sure the 8GB will be useless, as we don't use over 3GB of memory VRAM anyway. I won't try either the i5 9th Gen because I'm sure there will be no issue at all. You will see on the real minimum requirement video that the i5 9th Gen or this Ryzen 5 2600 is overkill. Now I digress a little bit, so let's come back. Still at 1080p, I go straight to advanced setting, which is very high, and we get a 58 FPS. It was quite more unstable with the AMD. I've dropped to the mid 40 FPS depending on the area. This RX570 4GB is often pegged at 100% of utilization, but for some reason the VRAM is at 2.1, 2.2 GB of utilization. See how the 8GB variant won't do a damn difference in this situation. I've also encountered what a lot of players was complaining about. There's a lot of stutter here and there. I don't know what is causing it, but it's on a state of annoying. It's annoying when you're playing or when you're in combat and the stutter start. Apparently the dev is working on a patch to patch this issue, but right now it's not. Thanks to have come watching. If you want me to try your setups for this game, post it in the comments below, and if I have the hardware, I will test it for you and post it on a YouTube short. On that note, see you in the next one, which will be the proposed minimum requirement, and subscribe.